What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the Dose Media Network YouTube channel. My name is Joey, and in today's video, I will be going over the best cash game plays for Week 6 on NFL Draftkings. I think this is a relatively easy cash game slate. So this is going to be a little bit of a shorter video because I don't think there's that many cash game players available to us at every position. I think this is a relatively condensed cash pool this week, especially at the quarterback position and especially at the running back position. But nonetheless, I will go position by position and talk about the players that you should be playing in cash games on DraftKings if you want to have a profitable week. As always, make sure you subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton. Leave some comments down below if you like this style of video, and leave some comments on what you want to see out of this YouTube channel moving forward. But nonetheless, let's talk about Week 6 DraftKings and the players you should be playing in cash games. All right, so taking a look at the quarterback position, I think this is a relatively easy quarterback slate, in my opinion. We have a ton of value, which I will touch on at the running back and wide receiver position that you can potentially play. And there's really no reason to not play Josh Allen in this 54 game total against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Bills and the Chiefs are two of the highest pass rate over expectation teams in the NFL to start the season, and this is just going to be a game where Josh Allen is going to project off the charts. He's projecting for more than 30 DraftKings points as it stands right now, and I don't think I've ever seen a quarterback projection that high, especially as a base projection. And I mean, you can see it in the game log. This dude does nothing but score 30 plus points, and in this spot against Kansas City, all of the touchdowns, all of the yards are going to come through Josh Allen. So at 8,200, I don't think they priced him up. And in cash games, if you're not playing Josh Allen, send me a head-to-head. JD Carrion 300. If you're not playing Josh Allen, you are making a mistake process-wise. I don't care if Tom Brady's projecting as well. I don't care if Geno Smith is projecting pretty well right now. Josh Allen, 8,200, is the clear-cut cash game quarterback play for Week 6, and I don't need to discuss anybody else. Moving on to the running back position, it's very similar to the quarterback position where we don't have a ton of players in the cash game pool just because with some of the value that opened up for this Week 6 slate. We have Ramondre Stevenson at 6K with no Damian Harris. Ty Montgomery is still injured. Pierre Strong is a special teamer at this point. JJ Taylor is a non-factor. They called up a guy named Kevin Harris from the practice squad. So this is just setting up to be a spot where Ramondre Stevenson is going to see 20 plus touches. He's one of the most efficient running backs in the NFL in terms of yards created, broken tackles, etc. He plays well in the receiving game. He has a ton of burst and explosiveness, and this is a team that is going to start Bailey Zappi. I'm a Patriots fan. It's a tough scene out here, but they're going to start Bailey Zappi. They're going to absolutely feed Ramondre in the spot. And regardless of game script, Ramondre Stevenson is still going to be a 3-down workhorse, whether they're up by 20 or down by 20. So Ramondre Stevenson at 6K, I think, is the best running back play on the slate this week. And I think he's rivaled by some guys a little bit cheaper than him. We have Kenneth Walker at 5,400, who is going to be one of the chalkiest options on the slate. I will say he is my 4th ranked running back out of the 4 running backs that I'm going to talk about for cash games. I think he's very touchdown dependent. I don't think he has a ton of target upside, and I think DJ Dallas is going to play quite a bit in this game, maybe 30-35% of the snaps, which is definitely enough to eat into Kenneth Walker's projection. But nonetheless, at home against an Arizona defense that has been bottom 7 in the NFL in terms of yards per play, and they just cannot stop anybody right now. Kenneth Walker at 5,400 is definitely in play for cash games. I think the next running back that's in play is Darrell Henderson at 5,100. We just got word a couple days ago that Cam Akers is dealing with some personal issues. He's out for this game. Darrell Henderson at 5,100 is coming into a sizable workload potentially with no Cam Akers there. The Rams are 10 plus point favorites at home against the Carolina team that legitimately cannot put up points. This should be a game that the Rams can control and can win. And we know when Darrell Henderson gets full workloads, he's a very good bet to score 15 to 20 points. I think the ceiling is still extremely low, especially with how this Rams offense has been playing this year. They've been one of the least efficient offenses in the NFL. Darrell Henderson himself has shown that he can't retain a sizable workload over the course of the year. So it's going to be interesting to see how they use him moving forward with no Cam Akers. But they did go out and sign Malcolm Brown, a veteran running back who knows this Ram system very well. He's played multiple seasons with Sean McVay and this Rams organization. So I think he should factor in a little bit. There's definitely some fragility here to Darrell Henderson, but nonetheless, he's still a very good play at 5,100. I would have him ranked as my third favorite cash game running back and my second favorite cash game running back just behind Ramondre Stevenson is Eno Benjamin at 4,600. James Conner is out in the spot due to a rib injury. Darrell Williams is out due to an ankle injury, I believe. And Eno Benjamin plays very well in the passing game. And this game is setting up to be what I think is the second best game on the slate, just behind that Bills and Chiefs game. I think that we could see a lot of plays ran in this game, especially on the Arizona side of the ball. Seattle and Geno Smith have definitely, been able to inflate scores, and their defenses have been able to inflate scores as well, which definitely helps the player projections in this game. And Eno Benjamin at 4,600 is just going to project as one of the best values on the slate right now. His projection as it stands is 16.1 points at 4,600. He's just an insane value. He's the second best value behind Ramondre Stevenson, and he should be one of the highest owned running backs on the slate. So in cash games, in my opinion, you're playing 3 of 4 of these guys. I think all 4 are really, really strong plays. My 3 that I prefer is Ramondre number 1, Eno Benjamin number 2, Darrell Henderson number 3, Kenneth Walker slightly behind Darrell Henderson. But nonetheless, those are the only 4 running backs you should be considering for cash games. Moving on to the wide receiver position, I think that this is a very slim wide receiver pool as well this week. With it being a 3 running back week in cash, that means we only have to play 3 wide receivers. I think 1 wide receiver spot gets locked up by Tyler Lockett. 5,600 goes off for 30 points last week on DraftKings, gets a price decrease. Makes absolutely no sense. We touched on it with Eno Benjamin. Both of these defenses are bad, and the player projections for every player in this game are going to be off the charts. He's currently projecting for 18 DraftKings points, which gives him almost a 4 value on this slate, and his role has just been extremely good. He's one of the highest target share wide receivers in the NFL. Geno Smith has been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. You cannot go wrong with playing Tyler Lockett, and I think he is a lock in cash for one of your 3 wide receiver spots. And then I also believe that Stefon Diggs is a lock for one of your 3 wide receiver spots this week at 8,400. His role is just so good. The Chiefs are missing multiple cornerbacks this week due to injury. They're on the road. The Bills' pass rate, obviously very high. Touched on it with Josh Allen, one of the highest in the NFL over expectation. It's obviously concerning that Diggs in his career as a Buffalo Bill hasn't had any spike games against the Kansas City Chiefs. Maybe it's just too small of a sample size, and we shouldn't really put too much stock into it, especially in a game with a 54 total, in a game that could potentially see 70 to 80 total points. But last time these teams played, the Bills scored 36 points. Stefon Diggs had 7 receiving yards. So there are definitely ways that Stefon Diggs doesn't get there, especially if Steve Spagnuolo focuses in on Stefon Diggs and stopping him and, making Josh Allen win with Gabe Davis and Isaiah McKenzie and Dawson Knox and Devin Singletary, which is definitely in the range of outcomes. But from a projection standpoint, Stefon Diggs is going to project very, very well at 8,400, and I think he is the cash game play. I will also say Jamar Chase at the top, 7,700. he wasn't getting too much steam early in the week as a cash game option, but it looks like T. Higgins is on the wrong side of questionable. I would expect T. Higgins to miss this game. Marshawn Lattimore is also out with an injury, and this Saints passing defense has been one of the worst in the NFL. And, we haven't had a Jamar Chase spike week since week one, and in a dome, returning home to New Orleans, where he and Joe Burrow both played at LSU, obviously, and where they had their incredible run to winning a national championship. I think that 7,700 Jamar Chase is too good of a play, and you can definitely play him in cash. And it looks like he's getting steamed quite a bit. So I don't mind Jamar Chase at 7,700. The second or third wide receiver, I should say, that I think is cash viable is Chris Godwin at 6,100. Obviously, it was concerning that, he only ran a route on about 50% of Brady's dropbacks in that game last week. But nonetheless, this game against Pittsburgh, they're missing three of their starting cornerbacks. They're missing Minka Fitzpatrick. They're missing TJ Watt. The Bucks are going back to how they played in 2021, and that is just passing at a very high rate over expectation. 6,100 Chris Godwin is just too cheap for a player that has 10 target upside in a game that the Bucks should dominate. They should put up a ton of points, and they have one of the highest implied team totals on the entire slate, and Godwin is projecting pretty good. So Chris Godwin, 6,100, Tyler Lockett, Jamar Chase, Stephon Diggs are the players at the top of the pool that I would consider in this mid-range. You can also consider Chris Olave, Christian Kirk. I like Juju Smith-Schuster is okay. I think a lot of people are going to have to play one of these cheap wide receivers, and I think Rondale Moore is going to be the guy that people gravitate towards at the low end, 4,200, in one of the best games on the slate. He came back, pretty much made Greg Dortch irrelevant, 8 targets as we saw last week, as you could see on the screen, 7 catches, 13 points. I think his ceiling is still extremely low. I don't know if he's that talented of a wide receiver, but he is going to be one of the chalkiest wide receivers on this week 6 slate. And I don't care to play him. I think there's builds out there where you don't have to play Rondale Moore, but he can definitely allow you to, jam in Jamar Chase and Stephon Diggs if you would like, or pay up at tight end and still play one of the top wide receivers on the slate. So Rondale Moore, 4,200. But other than that, I don't really believe that there's that many cash game wide receivers. I think your pool should be limited to Stephon Diggs, Jamar Chase, Chris Godwin, Tyler Lockett, and Rondale Moore. Moving on to tight end, I think the standout play at the top for me is not Travis Kelce. It's Mark Andrews at 7K. Mark Andrews just has one of the highest target shares out of any player in the NFL. Rashad Bateman is out once again in this game. It's a good spot against the New York Giants, and at 7K, Mark Andrews is just projecting as one of the best values on the slate, regardless of position. And part of me does kind of want to make Mark Andrews a priority, especially with how bad the bottom of the tight end pool is. But on a week where, there are some viable options, there are a couple better options at the wide receiver spot. I don't know if I'm going to play Mark Andrews in cash, but he's definitely the standout play for me. He's been a little bit more efficient than Travis Kelce on the year as well. So at 7K, I think Mark Andrews is a phenomenal play this week, and you could definitely go there in cash. I think some other tight ends that are going to have ownership this week in cash, Tyler Higbee makes a ton of sense. Zach Ertz, 4,900. I don't mind them, but if I'm paying down off Mark Andrews, it's just going to be punting pretty much. And I think Irv Smith is the guy here, 3,200. Definitely don't mind him. Hayden Hurst, we'll have to see if he's active. But as you can see here on the screen, his role has been really good. 7, 8 targets, 4, 2. And in this game against New Orleans, with some of the pieces that they're missing in their secondary, I think this is a good spot for Hayden Hurst and the Bengals passing attack. So at 3,300, I think I would prefer Hayden Hurst to Irv Smith, actually, if I'm paying down. But I think Mark Andrews is the standout play at the tight end position this week, to be honest. So to sum it up in cash games, like I said at the top, I think it's a relatively tight cash pool. I think at the quarterback position, you're playing Josh Allen, point blank, period. If you don't play Josh Allen, send me a head to head. At the running back position, I think you're choosing 3 out of 4 in Darrell Henderson, Ramondre Stevenson, Eno Benjamin, Kenneth Walker. I think at the wide receiver position, there's 5, maybe 6 wide receivers I would personally consider for cash: Stephon Diggs, Jamar Chase, Chris Godwin, Tyler Lockett, Chris Olave, Rondale Moore, or maybe a Romeo Dubs kind of guy in that mid to 4K range. And then at the tight end position, I think you're either playing Mark Andrews or one of Irv Smith or Hayden Hurst. It's a very, very easy week. Defense, obviously, you pay down. I think it's an easy week. I think this is a week where if you watch this video, you should cash, to be honest. All of these guys are very, very strong plays, especially the running backs. And I just gave you the blueprint to winning cash games. So you're welcome. And that is going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And we'll see you tonight for the Saturday night live stream, where we'll mainly talk about tournaments and how to get different in tournaments with 2 very chalky games this week. I will see you guys next week. Have a good weekend. Have a good week 6 slate. I will talk to you soon.